antidepressants only work 50% of the time. And when it does work, your body adapts to it and then it no longer becomes effective.
Kylie James is a certified nutritionist and registered occupational therapist with passion for nutrition and its impact on brain chemistry, mental health, weight loss, and well-being. How big of a problem is this depression?
Worldwide, it's the highest disability and it's growing. So the combination of diet and supplements can really have a pretty profound impact on your mood and mental health.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pause to Elevate with Dr. Kasim Al-Mashat. I am so thrilled to share today's conversation with Kylie James, who's a certified nutritionist and registered occupational therapist. We're going to look into so many questions. I'm really looking forward to this, including how we can improve motivation and how nutrition can play a role, how can a healthy diet improve mood, and many other explorations. So, first, Kylie, a warm welcome to you to the Pause to Elevate podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here today.
Thank you so much for joining us. And I wonder if we can begin with what led you to this interest in this field, led you interest in nutrition, besides all your certifications and expertise. How
Yeah,
did you
sure.
arrive to this?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I always wanted to be a physiotherapist because I love sports. So I wanted to get into physiotherapy school and
Mhm.
I applied, didn't get in, and they said, well, do occupational therapy. That's similar. So I did OT, and then I worked for many years as an occupational therapist, but I still wanted to get back with athletes. So when I was
Mhm.
in Canada, I decided, oh, I'm going to do a nutrition course and
Mhm.
become a certified nutritionist. And I did, but I started seeing my clients that were in the motor vehicle accident,
Mm.
with brain injury, chronic pain, mental health issues, sleep issues, headaches,
Ah.
and things like that. But then that all sort of changed when my nephew became a quadriplegic when he was 1.5 years old due to medical malpractice.
Oh, wow.
So I became very interested in nutrition and spinal cord injuries. So my colleague and I, we applied for a grant to the States, to the Paralyzed Veterans of America, to research and write a book on nutrition and spinal cord injury. And from that, we part of research projects, one at Brock University
Mm.
in Niagara and one at Maryland University in the States. And then, yeah, I thought OT would be my bread and butter and nutrition would just be something on the side. And so now I have like a company with about 20 staff of nutritionists and dietitians. But like I said, like my passion was always to work with athletes, but now it's very much brain health, mental health, neurological health. Like I said, like neurodivergent individuals that have
Mm.
neurodivergent issues and things like that. So yeah, sort of
Mm.
metamorphed as it's gone along.
So interesting. So, nutrition was more of an appetizer, so to speak, for you. And then,
I like that.
and then it became like, wait a minute, this could be a main meal here. We can like
Main meal, yeah.
main meal. So it's really included. And it's also included in your program of reclaiming your happiness. So we can talk about that as well later. So clearly there's something that impacted you personally. So here's a family member, someone you know. Um,
Well, the mental health was a big piece, right? Like
yes.
it's so we already Canada already was having a mental health epidemic prior to COVID. And then
Yes.
COVID came and it just spiraled out of control.
Mm.
So, it's interesting. I went out with my girlfriends. We're sitting down having lunch, and all their teenage daughters were on some sort of anti anxiety or antidepressant medication. One of my friend's daughters was suicidal and was antidepressant resistant, so no medications were working. And then
Mm.
my daughter was struggling as well.
Mm.
We did not want to go the antidepressant route because the risk of suicide increases with medications with teenagers. And it's interesting, like during COVID, I went back to New Zealand for a bit. and a friend of mine from high school committed suicide.
Wow.
So I went to his funeral, and then the day after the funeral, his daughter committed suicide.
Oh,
So it was a
wow.
combination of all those things. It's like there are so many people struggling out there, and there must be more to do than just antidepressants, because with my friend's daughter, just nothing was working.
Mm,
And yeah, so I decided to take a deep dive. I mean, and even just a lot of my friends, work colleagues, other family members, all struggling with mental health. So it's just like, I need to be able to help these people, and there's so much from a natural perspective that can help, and also even from like a root cause
mm,
too, because there's blood work that can be done that could identify that the root cause is potentially maybe they have high homocysteine levels, or maybe they're deficient in B12,
mm,
B6, or folate, which are really high predictors of depression, or
mm.
maybe it's another health condition. There's so many moving pieces with regards to root causes of depression. So I was super excited to do a deep dive into that and try and
Mm.
create something that is user friendly and digestible for people,
Right.
to be able to take that resource and use it. Because a lot of people say, they struggle with motivation and struggle with initiation, get easily
Mm,
overwhelmed when they have depression. So, really wanted something that was piecemeal, that people could have action plans, understand the research behind it, and then just build from there,
mm.
build good habits. Yeah.
Yes. So it's really more widespread than we think. Mental health
Oh, yeah.
challenges. And even, if you think of depression, some people think, oh, I'm just, you know, a lot of people are sad. It's not a big deal. And they kind of, brush it off. But how big of a problem is this depression?
Yeah, they do say it's one of the worldwide. It's the highest disability in the world, depression, and it's growing. And of
Yeah.
course, like social media is a big thing with the doom scrolling. Like more research is coming out about that, because we're seeing that aftermath of that during COVID as well.
Yeah.
And even though as a society we've never been so connected, like through our phones, we are so much more disconnected. And it's
Mm,
interesting, like I put lifestyle strategies in my program, and a big thing is the power of connection and setting goals to connect with people.
mm,
Because they're now research is showing that loneliness is one of the biggest predictors for mortality and disease. So,
mm.
we are, and they actually reporting research shows that people have less and less good friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that power of connection is a really important piece as well.
Really is, and that's so important. It's one of your modules in Reclaim. What's the name of the program? Reclaim Your Happiness, or Reclaim
Yeah, reclaim your
Your
happiness. Yeah.
Happiness. Yeah, and we'll speak about all the different modules. So here's depression, and there's something you're saying about technology, and sometimes people go to it as a form of self-care, right? Like, and
Mm.
we just it just makes me feel good. It makes me laugh. I look at funny videos, or I'm learning
I know I'm getting
things.
all the panda feeds and all the teenagers that are like high from getting their wisdom tooth out. So it's just, those are my feeds right now.
That's the feed.
Yeah. Light and fluffy, light and fluffy.
Light
Yeah.
and fluffy, right? So I guess, what do you say to people who try to justify? I think and it's nothing is all good or all bad, but I guess, when is it not helpful?
Well, I definitely saw that with my daughter, and then when we
Mm,
were put in situations where there was a social situation and she was still on her phone, and she'd get so angry when we would take it from her. It's like,
right.
listen, you're lonely. Here's an opportunity to engage. You
Yeah.
need to engage. Now, I am seeing like people like our age where we're able to identify that, okay, this is not serving us. So I have a lot of friends that are actually getting off Facebook, deleting their Instagram accounts. But
Mm,
because we're older, we can self regulate better. And I'm finding with teenagers, especially because the schools didn't implement this early enough, the regulation around phones. Like I know in Australia they've put in some really strict laws, no social media until 16. I think it's 16 years of age,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is amazing. And then even when I'm in New Zealand and my nephew's in high school, there's no phones that are allowed. They have to be kept in your bag. But I know Canada's implemented it now, but because kids were already having their phones, the teachers
Yeah.
aren't and in some ways can't. It's so much harder for them to regulate because it's already the norm's been created.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's time for a little pop quiz interruption. I'd like you please to guess what is the percentage of people who are watching the content on this channel who have not subscribed? Are you ready? 97.5% have not subscribed. What? This blew my mind. That means only 2.5% of you have subscribed. Please help me change that. This makes a drastic impact on my capacity to continue sharing this educational content at no cost to you. All you have to do is press that subscribe button. If you have, thank you so much. Please continue sharing it with anyone you think can benefit from this. Thank you so much. You know what I'm seeing as well more of is the adults, and adults struggling with that. Like teens, you can work with them. I think there's parenting, and but a lot of adults,
Well,
whether
I
30s,
noticed that
40s,
too.
50s, 60s,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
struggling with like difficulty sitting with oneself. It's like if there's nothing to do for a moment, fill it with Instagram, fill it with, and then something comes up. And I teach mindfulness myself, and mindfulness based stress reduction, and it's a conversation we have in that program of like how do we relate to technology, and so it's not taken away from our life.
And the big thing is too, we get a dopamine hit, and I don't know. There's that what's that documentary about the social media, and a lot of people like deleted their accounts and
Oh,
said,
the dilemma, the social, is it called the social?
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
about
yeah.
how the people that created it, they hired psychologists so it would be addictive. But each time you get that ding from Facebook or that ding, it's like a little dopamine hit. And
Yeah.
that's why I think a lot of us are dopamine depleted now
Mm,
because we need more to get that dopamine buzz. So a lot of people like definitely recommend like a detox from social media and doing things
yeah.
like taking a walk, spending time with family, and just reconnecting and getting grounded to raise your dopamine. I mean, there's lots of ways to raise dopamine naturally, and it's interesting. It doesn't involve a lot of work. Like it's things that you can do, like meditation, listening to instrumental music, doing
Mm,
yoga. Research shows it all helps to raise our dopamine levels in our brain.
mm,
Taking a probiotic is another one. So, finally getting into the food aspect of it. Yeah, there is dopamine receptors in our bacteria helps to make dopamine. So when we
mhm.
support our gut bacteria, we can really help to support dopamine as well.
Ah, that's something I've been really thinking about wanting to ask you is the connection into the gut microbiome and mental
Yeah.
health.
So
It's a
it's
whole.
so interesting. So, when we're in the fetus, our brain and our gut actually start off together. And
Mm,
then over time, when the fetus is growing, it pulls apart. And that vagus nerve is the one that's being connected. And I'm
mm,
sure you've done like vagus nerve sort of talks and stuff as well. So, there's massive communication going back and forth between the brain and the gut. And there's so much research coming out now about the gut microbiome and its impact
mm,
on mood, behavior, cognition, our weight. There's research to show
mm.
whether that gut microbiome have an impact on whether a medication works for you or not, or whether you
Ah,
have side effects or not. It's very big in the neurodivergent community, the gut bacteria and
mm,
imbalances, gut dysbiosis. So definitely whenever I work on brain health, whether it be brain injury, concussion, mental health, or kids on the spectrum, it's always working on gut health because there's such a
mm,
huge role that it plays with mood.
mm. And can you just explain for those who haven't heard what is neurodivergent?
So
This.
neurodivergent is more the modern term for kids on the spectrum. So
Mhm.
autism, Asperger's, ADHD, sort of there's a big spectrum of disorders that sort of fall in that neurodivergent
Mhm.
realm. Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people self-diagnose as like, "Oh, I am this or I am that," and so just to give people context.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because I see ADHD being diagnosed for everyone now, all the
Yeah.
adults and stuff. And so I'm just curious, why is there such a massive increase in diagnosis for ADHD?
Mm.
Is it just that it's more recognized, or is there something going on in our environment and our biochemistry that's impacting that? And I mean, I do
Mm.
think cell phones has a role to play with that.
Yeah. It doesn't help because it's very immediate cell phones. Quick, 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 quick,
Mm,
quick, 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 right?
yeah,
So I just want to go back and unpack like so many things that you just shared are so helpful to explore. And one of them about nutrition and mental health. And we're talking about depression. And if we step back a little bit, um, what is the role of inflammation and what is
yeah.
inflammation? How does inflammation impact us? And how can nutrition help with that?
Well, inflammation is good for us, right?
Mhm.
Acute inflammation, you fall off a ladder, you step on a nail, you break a bone, there's acute inflammation that
Mhm.
helps to get nutrients and healing products to the site, the injury site, to heal it and help to remove debris, bacteria away. So that
Mm,
acute inflammation is important for us, but it's chronic
yeah.
inflammation that becomes a problem. And inflammation is developed in so many different ways. Like our diets, for example, is a big one. So we consume in North America a standard American diet, which is abbreviated for SAD, ironically, because
That's a
yeah,
sad diet.
yeah, it's a sad diet. It's a lot of processed foods, a lot of refined
Mm,
grains, a lot of hidden sugars that
mm,
really promote inflammation in the body. So we have cytokines, which are inflammatory markers that are increased
mm,
when we eat these kind of foods. And there's other foods too that are anti-inflammatory, such as turmeric, dark leafy greens, our oily fish, our olive
mm,
oil. They are anti inflammatory. So that brings that inflammation down.
mm.
So, as I mentioned before, as part of that study at Brock University, and that was actually looking at the anti inflammatory diet with individuals with spinal cord injury. So,
Uh-huh.
spinal cord injury and brain injury, they will have chronic neuroinflammation, and so, what they were looking at is putting these clients on an anti inflammatory diet for 3 months, as well
Mhm.
as a supplement program, and measuring those cytokine levels in the blood before and afterwards, and looking how that in turn impact pain, depression, and sleep. Because
Wow.
inflammation is a root cause for so many diseases, but it can contribute to like sleep, pain, headaches, cognitive issues, brain fog,
Mhm.
just so many things, right? So, after 3 months on the diet, cytokine levels reduced by 28% in the blood,
Mm,
but depression scores improved by 55%, which
wow.
was greater than SSRIs, antidepressants, which was 48%. This improvement happened in half the time that it would take an antidepressant to go into effect.
Wow.
And not only that, but pain scores and sleep scores significantly improve. Now, the problem with antidepressants, the two biggest issues where people will go off antidepressants is weight gain and sexual
Mm,
dysfunction.
yeah.
So, with an anti inflammatory diet, people were losing weight. And that's another thing, too, because our fat
Ah.
tissues excrete inflammatory markers. So, we want to be maintaining a healthy weight and keeping our fat tissue down because that
Mm,
fat tissue excretes inflammation too. So there was all
mm,
these benefits as opposed to side effects from taking the medication versus doing the diet,
mm.
right?
So what did these participants get in terms of protocol? Because I'd love it if because this sounds amazing. Really, like
Yeah, it was
this
published.
knowledge needs to be like out there. we
Yeah,
need to.
the journal was the study was published in the Journal of Neuroinflammation.
Mm,
So basically, now there's different kinds of anti-inflammatory diets out there. So the Mediterranean diet is one of the most researched diets
mm.
out there. Vegetarian diet, and interesting, like a keto diet, they're all anti-inflammatory. So the
Aha.
diet that we put them on that was anti-inflammatory is we did no gluten and no dairy.
Mhm.
We did whole
No
food.
cheese. Oh.
Yeah, sorry. But again, there's ways to like again, the Mediterranean diet has feta cheese, goat
Yeah.
cheese, yogurt. So it depends on the individual. I mean, I tend to say stay away from cow's milk and
Yeah.
dairy, cow's cheese, but feta and goat is a better one.
Yeah.
And staying away from gluten because gluten, so many people have a hard time processing gluten. It's very
Mm.
inflammatory, it's high on the allergenic profile. And people notice so many improvements. Like I had this one client, took her off dairy, her nightmares went away. When she went back on the dairy, her
Wow.
nightmares came back. And even I was surprised. I was like, I didn't know nightmares would be like a dairy issue had would have a contribute to nightmares, right? So there's a
Yeah.
thing called the food elimination diet where you do that. You take away all like the dairy and the gluten, take away for 3 to 4 weeks, and then you reintroduce it back.
Right. Slowly introduce it back.
Monitor for 3 days and see if there's a change in your symptoms. Because a
Mm.
lot of times people find their little idiosyncrasies of, oh, I've never slept well, or I've always had problems with constipation.
Mm.
But so they trying to they acknowledge it that it's just the normal part of them, but it's like no, there is something going on there.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be going to the toilet every 3 days, once
Yeah.
every
Right.
3 days, right? So when we clean up the diet and then they can see
Mm.
how everything's improved and then we reintroduce things because
Mm.
maybe it's not a gluten problem, maybe it's just a dairy problem, or maybe it's something else. So then they get to see what works and what doesn't work. So it's not like restrictive all the time, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
And is there something about like number of meals? There's a lot of interesting research about time restricted eating or
Oh,
intermittent
yeah.
fasting. Was that incorporated into some of that, or it's like just your regular healthy kind of 3 meals?
You know what? I would say different nutritionists have different viewpoints.
Mm.
I would say where I'm now, when I did my metabolic balance coach training, they really, because insulin is inflammatory, right? So we really want to keep insulin low. A lot of us have problems like pre-diabetic or hypoglycemia
Mm.
and things like that. So I would recommend no snacks because if you have that break and window, your insulin drops, you get into a fasting state more
Yeah.
and you can go into more the fat burning. So I would say the 3 meals, no snacks. Now, intermittent fasting has so many health benefits,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's not good, especially for perimenopausal, menopausal women. It's too much stress on the body. So I've
Mm.
had some women lose a crazy amount of weight, and some people that have actually put on weight. So it's not for
Ah.
everyone, but definitely it helps with digestion. It helps with speeding up your metabolism. It helps with lowering your cholesterol and your insulin. There's
Mm.
research to show it improves longevity. And then if you fast for a certain period of time, there's research to show it really boosts the immune system and your body can go into like a big cleanup, right? It cleans up
Yeah.
debris, cellular debris, but it also can start like clearing up cancer cells as well. So there is
Mm.
a role for intermittent fasting with potentially preventing cancer or managing it. I
Hmm.
mean, again, that's very individual, but
Right.
based on the individual and their cancer and everything else. But there is like it does do a very good clean house when you fast for sure.
Mm. See, sometimes there is this mindless eating. And
Mm.
I had an interesting conversation with Dr. Judson Brewer from Brown University about eating and the mindless eating versus just are we eating out of like boredom or are we eating out of hunger? Like, is it craving? Is it hunger? And many people, I also work one on one with people, and It's like, oh, it's this time of the day. I just have some chips, or it's very soothing. I had a rough day, and I'm gonna have this,
Hmm.
rather than actually, it's not hunger that's leading to eating, right? It's
There's
boredom.
such
It's
a
kind of
big
emotion becomes
question.
emotional eating.
Yeah, there's such a big question.
Yeah.
Like a big one that I always start with is blood sugar balance, right? Always start
Mm,
your morning, your breakfast, if you're not fasting, like having a good breakfast with like protein and good fats, like cereals, toast, unless you're doing like egg or a good protein with it.
mm,
You really want a good protein and fat because when your blood sugars rise above that normal level, your body produces a lot of insulin to try and process all that glucose.
mm,
And then if that doesn't, if there's too much glucose to process, then that gets away and stored as fat. And what comes up must come crashing down. And when it crashes down, that's when you're going to go for the donut in the kitchen at work
yeah.
versus the carrots and hummus that you packed that day. Because it's naturally going to create this craving, oh, I've got to get my blood sugars back up. And when
Yeah.
blood sugars drop, your body naturally produces that stress hormone cortisol. Now,
Hmm.
cortisol in itself is a problem because it can, if chronic stress or chronic blood sugar imbalances can interfere with, can cause muscle and bone to break down, can interfere with
Mm,
neurotransmitter production. It's responsible for that nice muffin top around our stomach. It impacts sleep. It has so
mhm.
many issues in the body. And I feel like, especially in this day and age, like we're all so stressed out, we're not
Yeah.
sleeping, grabbing food on the run. So, balancing blood sugars is a big one for everyone. So, starting
Mm,
that day with maybe a chia pudding or
mm,
like overnight oats with protein powder in it, or eggs and vegetables, like omelette. I mean, I love egg bites doing that with my clients because they can batch cook it and then it's a grab and go in the morning. And they've
mm,
already got some vegetables there in their morning breakfast as well. So
mm,
I find that that's a good starting point. Yeah.
mhm. I can tell you personally, it's made a big difference for me having a good solid breakfast. I usually have my workouts early in the morning, so I'm super hungry, and the
Yeah.
proteins, the vegetables. I have vegetables in the morning, and it really helps.
Yeah.
So no, you speak as well about proteins. So what is the role of proteins? Can you share what are the different forms of protein? Why is it helpful for like
Yeah.
mood and
Yeah, so protein's a big one. So we protein's broken down into amino acids, and it's those
mm,
amino acids that play certain roles in the body. So we have essential amino acids and non-essential. So
mm,
essential means we cannot make it in the body. We have to get
mhm,
it from the diet. And we need good digestion. We need good stomach acid, digestive enzymes to break down that protein and for us to absorb it. So that's
mm,
another big thing is working on digestion with people with mental health because they could eat a healthy food, a healthy diet, but if they can't break down and absorb those nutrients,
right.
then that becomes a problem. Because it's not just we are what we eat, it's what we eat and absorb, right? So the
Mm,
three big amino acids that are big for depression is tryptophan. So tryptophan
mm,
gets converted into 5-hydroxytryptophan and then into serotonin. And
mm,
serotonin is our happy molecule. It's our happy
mhm,
neurotransmitter. Serotonin is a natural pain reliever.
mhm,
Serotonin helps with cravings. And in the absence of light, it gets turned into melatonin. Now,
mm,
that conversion into melatonin is getting affected because we're all watching TV, we're on our
mhm,
computer, we're doom scrolling. So that's an issue why a lot of people have a hard time because they're not converting that serotonin into melatonin.
mm,
Um, and then so the other thing is tyrosine. So tyrosine,
right.
it helps to make dopamine. So dopamine is our motivation molecule, helps us to get up and going in the morning, helps us to
Mm,
initiate tasks. So we want that tyrosine in our diet to ensure that we are getting that the foundation of the
mm,
ingredients needed to make that neurotransmitter. So we should be having protein at each meal,
mhm,
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if you're having a snack, having it with your snack. And obviously, good sources. We want to stay away from processed meats like the deli meats and things like
right.
that because they are high in nitrates, which have other issues in the brain health that affects brain health as
Mm,
well. So yeah, so really wanting to space that out. So there's tryptophan, there's tyrosine, and there's
mhm,
phenylalanine. So phenylalanine also helps to make dopamine as well, helps curb cravings,
Mm.
helps with sleep, helps with mood. So those are the three big amino acids, and they're
Mhm.
contained in like all our meats, our chicken, our beef, and also in vegetarian foods too, like seaweed, quinoa, and things like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because that brings often the debate. You can only get certain sources with from animal products versus vegetables, and so. What have you found any big differences? Like if for folks who are just vegetarian or then don't eat certain meats, are you able to get most of these proteins, whether plant based or animal based?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the big things with vegetarian is you can
Mm.
have a bad vegetarian that fills up on a lot of breads
Right.
and maybe doesn't.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
seeing a lot of teenage girls, they're not doing the meats, but then they're not really not big on vegetables either. It's just like, okay, this isn't really serving your health. Um, and it's interesting. So when I did nutrition training, I had people that started the training as vegetarians and they actually switched back to eating meat.
Ah.
So a really good diet out there is a flexitarian diet, which is again is anti-inflammatory. But now and again you incorporate meat, whether it be
Mm.
fish, whether it be chicken, whether it be beef. But predominantly your diet is vegetarian.
So it's flexitarian.
Yeah,
Yeah.
flexitarian. So that's another one that's getting more people looking into and starting to research on, because the two big ones that are hard to get from plant sources is the B12 and the iron. And it's
Mm.
interesting. So, iron, when you are deficient, you can have a lot of symptoms similar to panic attacks, like the heartbeat, the flushing, and things like that. So, my daughter had an
Mm.
iron deficiency, and it is hard to supplement. It takes a while for iron stores to build up. So
Mm.
we went to a naturopath doctor and did an IV of iron, and that really helped with her panic attacks. It got
Mhm.
her iron levels straight up into the normal range. So yeah,
Mm.
so those are
So
big
the
ones
iron levels improved
for
the
panic
panic
attacks.
attacks.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then yeah, like the B12 and the B6, they're huge
Mm.
neurotransmitters that help manage homocysteine, which can be a contributing factor to depression.
Mm.
And they also help to their cofactors that help convert that serotonin into 5-hydroxytryptophan and then into um, 5-HTP into 5-hydroxytryptophan and then into serotonin. So they're cofactors for converting a lot of those amino
Mm.
acids into those neurotransmitters.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to quickly thank you for stopping by and watching this content. It truly means the world to me that you're interested in creating positive change. I also want to invite you to join our amazing community. I have free events online about mindfulness, mindfulness based stress reduction, laughter, as well as retreats that you can do from the comfort of your own home. And are you ready for this? Self paced program that you can do about mindfulness and stress reduction. So you can join the newsletter below to stay up to date on all these goodies. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and press that button. It really helps me to keep this content going and reach out to more guests. Thank you so much again, and may you continue enjoying watching this episode. Fascinating. And is
Mm.
there any work on terms of dosage? So here's protein is an important element of nutrition that can support mental health as well. Is there dosage? Because I know I love sports as well, just like you, and always curious about like proteins for building muscles and recovery and all of that. And there's sometimes suggestions on like per pound, one
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
1 gram of protein. Is there such work out there in terms of mental health? And okay, you need at least this much protein, or is
I
there a
think
recommendation?
quality of protein is just as important as
Uh,
quantity. But I would say, like, so the average person should be consuming zero point 0.8 grams per kg of body weight. But for healing, if you're more active, maybe 1.2 to 1.8. But definitely for
of
men,
kilograms.
yeah,
So
grams
it's
per
about
kilogram.
almost 2 pounds or so. No.
Oh, go to the
Yeah, yeah.
you're putting me
Yeah,
on the
but
spot here now, Kissy.
yeah.
But and then for menopausal women, they need more protein, so
Mm,
above 2 grams per kg of body weight. So it
mm,
depends on the individual, and what their issues are. Because also too, sometimes it's not necessarily like a lot of my clients like it's like, well, I don't like meat and I don't like this and I don't like that. I had a vegetarian and
right.
so it's just like, okay, seaweed's really high in protein, and she
Mm,
was okay with that, so she would incorporate that into her diet. And then we were doing pesto, spreading hummus and pesto on toast because they both
mm,
have protein in them, with the pine nuts and with the hummus, the
mm.
chickpeas. So um, yeah, it just depends on the individual. And if someone's doing weightlifting and going to the gym versus being quite inactive, again, different protein needs. But
Of course.
yeah.
Yeah. And that takes us also to supplements,
Hmm.
in terms of protein supplements, like versus, and I don't like to think of it as versus, because it's more of,
It's
okay,
supplementing
you have to
the diet.
supplement exactly because we're
Yeah,
already taking the healthy proteins, whether it's
yeah,
plant based or animal based, combination flexitarian. I like that,
yeah.
and supplementing with some,
Yeah, so I mean, I like protein powder because again, it's quick and easy, and you
yeah,
can do like, and it doesn't even have to be like a protein shake or a smoothie bowl. Like I put, my son has ADHD, and he's
mhm.
very picky eater, so I make protein pancakes in the morning.
Oh
It
wow,
has the protein powder, it has the Greek yogurt, it has
mm,
almond flour, it has a ton of eggs.
mm,
So I know, yes, there's a little bit of maple syrup, but like I know that he's getting like some good fats and some good protein, as
mm,
opposed to like a sugary cereal because he's so picky, right? And that's what we
right,
tend to gravitate to. So, but the yeah, so raw energy balls, like you have nuts and seeds, but you can put in
mm,
protein powder in there. So I do like the protein powders. Definitely, if you're looking for one, if it's whey based, whey isolate, not concentrate.
mm.
Isolate's way better. Not being biased, but New Zealand way is really good.
Yes,
Because our cows are out frolicking in the fields and
they go
stuff.
hiking.
Yeah, they go hiking. They're very happy cows in New Zealand.
Yeah,
So you see a lot of protein powders
yeah.
advertised New Zealand way, and just watching all the fillers as well. So if you're going to get a
Mm,
protein powder, I would recommend going to a health food store as opposed to a lot of these body bulking stores, because there's a lot of like
yeah,
hidden sugars, maltodextrin,
yeah.
sucralose, and things like that. So I look for like stevia sweetened,
Mm,
or unsweetened. Um, and vegetarian protein powders are good. Whey is the most absorbable form.
mhm.
But sometimes people have a hard time with whey. So sometimes
Right.
it's vegetarian, and I like, not that I have any affiliation with any companies, but Progressive Veggie Essentials All in One, because
Yeah.
that has fiber, it has cruciferous vegetables, sea vegetables,
Mm,
berries, like, so like a lot of whole foods in there. So it
mhm.
is complete, but sometimes people don't like the texture of
Right.
vegetarian protein powders. So for some of my clients that have that takes that chalky feeling they don't
Mhm.
like, if they're not going to implement the protein powder because of that, then I wouldn't recommend
Right.
that source. Yeah.
Right. So it's experimenting. And I know I experimented with different kinds. Same thing. I have no affiliation to brands and I've tried different brands, plant based way. Some way didn't sit well with me. I could feel like just
Yeah.
heaviness and my stomach was not happy with ugh.
Yeah.
And but others fine. And there's a little tip that it was actually a store, nutrition store that they mentioned. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it this way. And the person was saying, when you take the protein, don't take too much water in your shake, and like chew it a little bit in your mouth, like just allow the saliva to form as you're drinking the shake rather than just drinking it like a quick glass of water, like blah 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 blah, right? Too liquidy.
And with protein shakes, to me, it's a vehicle to get all that other stuff in there that maybe
Yeah.
they wouldn't consume. Like the dark leafy greens, they're very alkalinizing. They're high in vitamin K. This is where we can get those good fats in, because the
Mm,
omega 3s are really important for brain health, we're a bunch of
Mm.
fat heads. 60% of our brain is fat, and we need that omega-3 and saturated fat. We need some saturated fat for our
Mm.
brain. But see, this is a way to like get all that other stuff, like the chia seeds and the flax seeds and the maybe some like nut
Mhm.
butters. I had one client who's like, I'm trying to get him to increase his vegetable intake. It's like,
Mhm.
put spinach in your smoothies. And he's like, Kylie, there's no way I'm putting that green crap in my just try it. You can't taste it because you got the berries in there and the vanilla protein powder. So he's asked his mum to put spinach in his smoothie. And it's like, oh. She goes, I've been putting spinach in your smoothie for the last month and you haven't noticed.
Oh,
So
wow.
I
The
like
hidden
protein.
spinach, I like it.
Yeah, I like protein shakes because it is a creative way to get a lot more things in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've been doing it actually the last couple of years with chia. I
yeah.
take a couple tablespoons and I put it in a little mason jar. I put some water, shake it, and just leave it like a couple of
Oh,
hours.
you do the chia gel? Yeah,
Yeah, and then put
yeah.
my shake on top of that, and that makes my shake tastier and a little thicker.
Oh, and
I
that's
this
really good for constipation, the chia
Yeah,
gel.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah. So
really love that.
that's a big one I recommend to clients is the chia pudding. So with
Mm,
the almond milk or coconut milk, chia seeds, maybe a little bit of vanilla essence or maple syrup, let it set, and you can get like dollar store jars, and then you've got like grab and goes for the week. You can put your protein powder in there. You can make different flavors.
yes,
And that's the same with the overnight oats as well. Like you can put that in there with some chia seeds and some flax seeds. And again, you're getting those like good proteins, good fiber, good fats. And it's whole food based and not all these. Because even some of the cereal brands, they tout as being healthy, but they're super loaded with
yeah,
sugar. And also, when you look at the serving size, they say, oh, half a cup has this much sugar. But you don't eat half a cup of
yeah,
cereal.
that's right.
You eat 1 cup or maybe 1.5 cups.
Or per tablespoon of this thing, you get this much. Like, wait a minute, I'm eating like
Exactly.
three
So they're
cups,
very
not a tablespoon.
they're very tricky like that. And also
Yeah,
you're comparing another cereal brand and it's like, oh, this one says 3/4 of a cup and this one says half a cup. So,
yeah,
it's deceiving even what they're defining as the serving size.
yeah.
So yeah, it is they're very tricky like that.
Yeah, so really, I mean, this is part of awareness, getting educated, and actually even reading labels. Like sometimes I think part of our very busy life, rush life, we don't even read labels. Oh, this looks good. Just like, wait a minute, what is it actually saying in the back? What it's listed, and
But
the,
also too, you don't need to read labels if you're doing whole foods, right? Like,
right.
you don't have to have a
There's
traditional
a
breakfast.
cauliflower. Don't need to read the label. There's an
Yeah,
actual
exactly. Like you could
broccoli or
do like
whatever.
bone broth for breakfast if you're not
Yeah,
a big eater. Like it's so good for gut health, it's good for
yeah,
bone health, it's high in minerals and electrolytes. So, if you're someone that's like, oh, I can't do breakfast, maybe just sip on bone broth. And that's
yeah.
economical too, right? So if you cook a roast on like Sunday, then put the carcass in a pot with some, celery, carrots, and some onions, a little bit of apple cider vinegar because that acidity will leach those calcium,
Yeah.
magnesium, collagen, all that from the bones to make a really nutrient dense broth. So you're
Mm.
actually helping the budget go further with making something like bone broth. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I love bun broth too. You're making me hungry. Oh, all that good stuff. And it really is a lot of experimentation. Like, for me, even the chia, when I first did it, I didn't leave it enough to sit long enough. And it
Yeah.
was like, it kind of, I guess it ferments or something. Like it turns from seeds and gets very kind of,
Gelatinous.
yeah. But if it's too quick, then I'm just swallowing seed, and that actually, well, didn't sit right with me. So
Yeah.
just leaving, and then I put it in the fridge, and what I heard is consuming preferably within a day if it's just chia and water. So it's like all these things we can learn about,
Yeah, but
and
everyone's looking for the quick grab and
yeah,
goes.
yeah,
And also to, and because a lot of my clients are people with brain injuries, right? So they don't have the
mm,
time, the energy,
right,
um, to really spend a ton of time in the kitchen. And like I said, like I'm big on soups and stews because that helps to stretch the budget. You put things in a crock pot in the morning and then come the evening, like it's good to go, your meal's ready.
mm,
And you batch cook, so you pre-portion those out, so you have multiple meals for the week, so you don't have to cook every night. So eating healthy doesn't have to be a chore. It
Right.
doesn't have to be expensive.
Right. And this is one of the many things when I first heard about the program we have, is really excited because someone who's an expert in their area, they've done their work, they've been working the field. It's not like you came from a totally different field and like, oh yeah, let's create some nutrition. Like this is your area, and you really, we can get lost out there with so much information. And you created this really digestible program of Reclaim Your Happiness with modules. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because it really systematically takes participants in it, and it's self paced. You
Yeah.
can learn and you can apply, and it's just digestible. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because I was really excited. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
So
want more people to know about this.
thank you. So yeah, so like being an occupational therapist too, I think really helped me with creating this program.
Yeah.
So, I did my research. I looked at all the different programs that were already out there, and I went away and interviewed my avatar. I interviewed people that I knew that were struggling with depression.
Mhm.
What were their pain points? What would they be looking for? So that really helped to guide me and sort of, you know, what I was developing. So, people said, I need to know that it works. So, looking at the evidence based research. So the
Mm.
program has over 300 studies. And so it really helps to look at, how consuming like a certain, like taking a supplement like SAMe, what the research shows that it can
Mm.
be just as effective as an antidepressant or even enhance the antidepressant so you can drop the dosage of your
Mm.
antidepressant.
This actually, sorry to interrupt you, but this is very powerful. So I just want to take a moment because some people have not heard of this. The Sam. Okay, can you say a little bit about that, even
Yeah,
because
so
that's very powerful. Like this is a moment of like, what? This is out there.
yeah, so the big supplements that I sort of recommend with my like lion's mane mushroom is a big one. That's a big one with my brain injury because it helps with neurological health. SAMe, which comes from plants, and there's research to show that it's just as effective as antidepressants, or like I said before, it actually can enhance it. So you need to take less, which means
Mm.
there's less potential side effects of say weight gain, sexual dysfunction, and things like that.
Mm.
Another big one is inositol, and that's a B vitamin, and that helps with blood sugar regulation, PCOS, cholesterol. There is St. John's wort. There's
Mm-hmm.
5-HTP. Yeah, and again, it depends on what the depression is. Is it more this apathy and lack of motivation, or it's just that you can't experience joy, don't feel happy, you
Mm.
feel quite sad. So it really depends on what the other factors are in play to see what would be the best for that person. And there's even research with certain vitamins and minerals. So, like I said, the big ones is B6, B12, and folate. They're one of the biggest predictors for depression.
Right.
So they help to make like serotonin, but they help to reduce homocysteine levels because when homocysteine
Mm.
levels are high, depression is high. But zinc is another one too. Magnesium.
Ah.
Those are so. And part of my one of my first modules is understanding depression and then understanding potential biochemistry, underlying causes. So when you go to your
Mm.
family doctor, you say, "Hey, I'm depressed." What does your family doctor do? Let's look at antidepressants.
Right.
But what I wanted to do is like, here, take this to the doctor and ask them to get this blood work to see if you have a zinc deficiency, B6, B12.
Mm.
Thyroid is another one. People, when they have low thyroid, are depressed. So,
Right.
diabetes is a massive correlation between blood sugars and diabetes and
Mm.
depression. So, get the blood work done to see is there something going on in the body that you're lacking that needs to be addressed
Mm.
first before looking at an antidepressant. Because also, once you're on,
Uh-huh.
and so the other thing, one of my other sessions in the first module, which is all about understanding depression, is why antidepressants don't work. And it's
Mm.
interesting when I was researching other courses, this was a title of one of them. It's like antidepressants don't work. So I
Hmm.
looked at my research. Took a deep dive into this, and yeah, basically, there is antidepressants only work 50% of the time, and when it does work, your body adapts to it, and then it no longer becomes effective.
Mm.
And research shows that long term use of antidepressants actually lowers serotonin levels in the body. So, it actually makes you more dependent on antidepressants in the future.
Mm.
So that's why, like, and now I'm not against antidepressants. I've seen it
Right.
play a huge role in people's lives. I'm just saying it's not the be all end all. And
Mm.
you could be taking these supplements in addition to the antidepressant, or you may want to try the natural route first before
Right.
going down the medication route. Like I said, the antidepressant diet that we did in the study at Brock University showed that the anti inflammatory diet help to improve depression scores more than SSRIs and in half the time without the side
Mm.
effects. So the combination of diet and supplements can really have a pretty profound impact on your mood and mental health
Mm.
before going the antidepressant route. So
Mm.
that was one of my other big ones that I thought was quite interesting. And then in the first module, there's I do a lifestyle strategy, and one is laughter therapy. So it's
Mhm.
interesting that whole term, fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
So research shows, like, if you're miserable and you go out and you're talking to people, but you just fake being happy, you actually trick your body to be
Yes.
happy. So even smiling, actually,
Yeah.
the muscles when they change actually send messages back into the brain. Thinking, well, I thought I was miserable, but I guess I'm happy because I'm smiling.
Right.
So so that was really interesting, and again, a real simple strategy to
It's
do when
yeah.
someone struggles to be motivated to make changes in their diet. Or maybe I'm just gonna like try just smiling and pretending I'm happy, because it actually does trick your
It's
brain to being
amazing.
happy.
I
Yeah.
actually teach what's called laughter yoga. I trained.
Oh, I've
Yeah, yeah.
done that. Yeah.
I actually trained with creator Dr. Madan Kataria, who's a physician from Mumbai, India.
Oh,
And
okay.
I came across it in 2007, and I thought, this is really goofy. This is really silly. And it confused my brain, but I just kept laughing. I was like, wow, okay, I don't understand why I'm laughing. And it's basically, stimulating laughter. So exactly as you said it, like you're faking it, right? And then, but you can't help it because through eye contact with others, and I do it online, and it's done
Mhm.
online or in person, but looking around, you see someone else smile, you can't help but smile. And it's not based on condition like I have to hear a joke, then I laugh. It's
Mhm.
laughing for no reason
Yeah.
and breathing, and it's so it's it's so silly, and it works. And there's actually interesting research on laughter yoga, like quite a bit of research on cardiovascular health, mood, on immune system,
Yeah.
laughter as medicine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's more and more of that research coming out, like
Mm,
positive mindset, connection. And one of the things that I looked at was like emotional contagion.
mm,
So, and that's big with teenage girls. It's where, you're hanging out with a group of friends or a friend, and whatever their emotions are, especially for women that are
yeah.
more empathetic, and nurturing, they'll take on their emotions as their own. So being
Mm,
mindful of who you're hanging out with, because you could attach yourself to those
right.
emotions. So yeah, so that was really interesting, because I sort of went down a rabbit hole with that, because like, oh my god, that's my daughter, that's what she is
Yeah.
experiencing
Yeah.
with her friend group. So yeah. Yeah.
Mm,
So yeah, and then the second module is more about psychology of eating. So it talks about the cravings.
mm,
But it's interesting. There's different neurotransmitters that can impact cravings too. I mean, blood sugars is a big one that we talked about before, but
mm,
GABA as well. So stress eating. If you're a stress eating, you may want to look at supplementing with GABA. If you're
mm,
craving certain foods for increased focus, then it may be like dopamine. You're lacking in dopamine, so you may need to
mm,
take, L-theanine as a supplement to help, boost that focus.
mhm,
Or if you're craving, like more in the afternoons, that could be a lack of serotonin. So maybe you need to supplement with 5-HTP. So there's different like neurotransmitters that could be contributing to the cravings. there's also
Mm.
the gut microbiome too, right? So it's just like if we have yeast or bad bacteria, they love sugar, they love
Yeah.
carbs, so they can be telling our brain, it's like, feed me this. So that's why
Yeah.
sometimes when people say, I don't have the willpower, I have to have it. Sometimes it's
Mm.
not your brain, it's like your gut microbiome telling you, like, feed me this stuff. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's the second module, and then the third module breaks down all about blood sugar balance, carbs, the proteins, the good fats, and even incorporating something basic like 1.5 tablespoons of olive oil has been shown to reduce the risk of depression. Can't remember, it's like 28% or
Wow.
30%. So even something simple like that to incorporate into your diet, it's not a lot of work. It's just like,
Yeah.
either take a spoonful, you put it on your salad, you put it on your fish, like, yeah. So
Mm.
that's the second module, and then the third module, and then the fourth one is like the vitamins, the minerals, the
Ah.
supplements, and then we go into like a recipe book, how to eat healthy on a budget, how to problem solve and plan and organize in regards to the kitchen to make things quick and easy and simple. Because again, I feel like a lot of times with nutrition, it's trying to break down barriers to make people successful with implementing a nutrition and
Mm.
implementing in the nutrition program.
Mhm.
Because I can give someone the best plan, but if they can't initiate and follow through with it, it's useless, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, it's actually quite a bit of a roadmap, and it's not just theory. It's not just like, oh, it's intellectual. It's practical roadmap, and it's applicable and action oriented. Like, you can do something about it. You're not just learning for fun, even though it sounds, for me, actually, that's quite a bit of fun. Like, there's so much good information you have there, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. So here's this, this is self-paced. Is that right?
It's self-paced, and at the end of each lesson, there is like an action plan of things to do.
Mm,
There is like always motivational quotes to sort of keep you like,
mm,
on track and stuff like that. There's the research to back it up to say, okay, so this really does work. So I'm
mm,
trying to tap into all the different avenues that can keep people motivated, engaged, and easy to follow through with the
mm,
program. So yeah, maybe they do 2 lessons and go, I'm just going to work on this for now, establish that as a habit, and then I'm going to take on the next lesson and then work on that action plan before
mm.
moving on to the other one, because it's all about establishing habits, right, and building on top of each other.
Right. So it's a 5 modules, but doesn't mean they have to finish it in 5 weeks. Like, it's not a week by
No,
week.
because
It
it's
could
about
be
5 sessions in each module. So yeah.
5 sessions. Yeah. So taking, yeah. Oh, got it. Okay. And
Yeah.
maybe, we didn't mention this to listeners, but you have a bonus that you're wanting to offer to the listeners of this podcast, Pasta Elevate. And
Yeah.
so maybe you want to mention that.
Yeah, so with my online program, so it's $495.
Mhm.
Now it is good for people that's struggling with depression. It is for family members, so they have their kids that struggle
Mhm.
with depression or anxiety, so they want to know how to best support them. And it's also for healthcare providers too, so
Mm.
social workers, nutritionists, dietitians, naturopath doctors, people that want to have some more skill base in that area to help support their clients as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's 495, but doing special for your podcast, we'll do
Mhm.
$200 off.
Mm.
So we can put the code in, that anyone that watches the podcast can plug in that code and get $200 off.
Nice. And this will be time limited or number limited?
So thinking number limited, so
Right.
maybe about 30, the first 30 people that enroll
Mhm.
get the $200 off.
It's truly incredibly generous, because the program is so helpful, and I'm not getting any cut or anything, or just want everyone to know, or any commission out of this, but it's such a good program. I highly, highly, highly encourage diving into this program, because we need, like, power is, knowledge is power, but this is actionable knowledge, and it's really helpful. So I really encourage everyone who's thinking about it, don't wait, take advantage. $200 off is really worth it. And again, I'm not getting a penny out of that, but I want you to benefit from the discount, and I want more people to be empowered with this knowledge. So thank you for this really generous offer
Oh,
to
you're
listeners to
welcome. Well, I
pause
want
to
to help
elevate.
people, right? Because I know
Yeah.
there's so many people struggling out there. So,
Yeah. And I'll put that in the show notes so anyone's interested. And if you miss the discount, no problem. Just give it a try. If you miss it, it's still worth it. Like it's actually worth tenfold that price. It really is. Like the cost savings on your health, at least 10, maybe 100 folds. So it's really priced at a really good rate. So thank you for putting it together. Just
you're
wanted to make sure.
welcome.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, I have a couple more things just before we end, which kind of shifts into mindset.
Hmm.
And I'm curious about your mindset because here's someone who's stepping out of their comfort zone and like entering business because you could just be, there's nothing wrong with that, just doing your work as an OT and that's it. But you ventured into so many, like creating a business, you have a whole team, you have how many people work for you?
20, I think. Yeah.
20. I mean, that requires certain mindset of success, certain mindset. So what drives you?
Okay, that's a really good question. I get bored easily, so I love to learn and I
Mm,
love being creative. So I think so I love the nutrition because I love the science, I love to help people. But then when I started building the business, I love the business side too. And
mm,
and so, I get bored of one thing, let's do marketing, and then I get bored of that. Let's do back end infrastructure. So
mm,
get bored. So it's like maybe I'm a little ADHD, so it's just like I love the variety, but my mentality's always been work hard, play hard. So,
mm,
I'm very motivated and driven, and I like to be successful. So, and I love to
mm,
learn. So I think um, I love seeing what my potential can be and not putting a
mm.
lid on it. And I found when I did my business course, the big takeaways I learned was like we are our own most limiting factor in growing a business.
Yeah.
So the best way to grow is put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and that's where you have the most growth. And definitely when I started out, I had to do talks at lawyer's office and going down and presenting at Harvard Medical School. Like that was putting me in extreme,
Yeah.
uncomfortable situations. And then just the confidence that comes from that after you've been put in those uncomfortable
Mm,
situations. So I definitely think that has been super helpful in me growing my business. And I have done a lot of
mm,
work on mindset with myself, and I see the power of it, and
mm,
I see the research on it too, how much changing that mindset changes the neural connections in your
mm,
brain. So and definitely going to bed at night and saying some affirmations
mm,
has really helped as well.
mm. Yeah, there's something about elevating life. Like you have continued to challenge yourself to grow because it's easy to be comfortable and we can be in our lane like tunnel vision, especially in various different professions. Like that's all we do and that's it. And they don't teach us in school. Like when I did my
Yeah, we
master's
didn't
and
learn
PhD,
anything about business
didn't get anything
and
about like how do you run the business. Like
yeah.
I remember like finishing. I'm like, okay, what do I do now?
Well, that's my thing I was saying to you. I was like, oh, I want to do podcasting. I was
Yeah,
like, but maybe I should be like a guest on a podcast to see what it's all about.
exactly. See if you like it. You'd be amazing podcast host
But you
because
know what is, but it's interesting. It's that manifestation, right? Because for years I wanted to start my own business, and I would keep thinking about it, and then it became. And for years I wanted to write a book, and then all of a sudden it seemed
mm,
to fall into place. And so I feel like I sort of manifest these things because I've been thinking about them for a while, and then they just become.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, power of intention, really.
yeah.
You have an
I keep
intention.
manifesting that I'm going to win lottery. That hasn't happened yet.
Good. No, no, that one I take 50% off. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the power, intention, and action because you've taken a lot of action to create
Mhm.
change. Yeah, yeah. So I'm wondering, there's one more question I want to ask you. I know we're at the end, which is, the name of the podcast is Pause to Elevate. And I'm curious, what does pausing mean to you? What is our different forms that support you in pausing?
Um, I think because I'm so busy in day to day life, like pauses to me is when I take myself out of this environment altogether and
Mm,
look back and reflect and look from the outside looking in. To me, that's what pause means in terms of running my business and growing both as a business owner and as an individual. So like going on big walks or just going away for a
mm,
weekend to the cottage, but just taking time out from everything to look back, like almost outside looking down on my life
right.
and on my business, to see what is missing, where can I grow. That to me is what pause is. Yeah.
Mm.
What is
So,
pause to
so
you?
there's little things throughout the day. Um, just taking a moment, even like I do one-on-one work, but I teach as well, and often before I teach, I just sit, take a few breaths, just pause, breathe. Because often there's a rush from one thing to the other, and it's like get to the next thing, get to the next thing. So very
Yeah.
intentional pause, just a few moments. So these are little pauses that I do, but then there's the longer pause, like the mindfulness meditation, which I teach.
Actually, you know what? I would say my pause is at night. I have a shower, but I have candles going, the lights are
Mm.
off, I have music going, and that is
Mm.
an area where it's just like it's the end of the day, unwind, it's
Yeah.
preparing to sleep. Sometimes I do the Epsom and salts, so that's my special time where I
Mm.
sort of probably do my big pause. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so important to find what works for us, right? It's just
Hmm.
moments of pause throughout the day, because we're often just rushing to some end, and it's like gotta get there, gotta get there, but it
Yeah.
never, like, actually never ends. I mean, the day we die, it ends. But like, are we chasing that? Like, just get there,
I know.
rather.
You should see my things to do list. It's two whole pages, and it's
I
just
know, same here.
oh,
Sometimes I move it around, I combine things. I'm like, it's still there.
yeah. As
Like,
soon as I cross off two things on my list, I'm putting something beside it to fill in the thing. So it's just like, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I think I'd
absolutely.
be quite anxious if I didn't have a things to do list. If I had nothing to do, it's just like I don't know. That would be a hard thing to process in itself because you're so used to that sort of way.
Yes. I mean, this is why when, going on vacation or take time off, it takes like a day for many people. It's like, oh, I can just be. And this is
Yeah.
what like mindfulness meditation has really helped me, is to train my brain that I can just be. Even if I'm busy, busy, okay, now I can just be. That's it. Like,
Yeah.
as John Kabat-Zinn, who created the mindfulness program that I teach, mindfulness-based stress reduction, he says, we've become human doings. We forgot how to be just human beings,
Mm.
human doings. And I love that. Like, yeah, I, uh, yeah, I gotta watch myself from being guilty of just
And it's
doing.
interesting you say that because I am seeing more and more clients with their sympathetic system is on overdrive,
Yeah.
and the stress has a massive impact on gut health and hormonal health. And it's that collection of the three can really put people in a
Mm,
state of disease and symptoms and things like that. So I have noticed even in my practice, I'm implementing things with my clients about things like weighted blankets and
right.
castor oil packs and forest bathing and all those things to
Mm.
sort of calm down that sympathetic nervous system. Yeah.
That's a really important part of well-being, managing the
Yeah.
nervous system. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. This has been so enjoyable, and I still have so many more questions for you, but I know we're at the end. I really, really appreciate this. And how can people reach you? What's the best way? And I'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, so you can just go to my website, www.koru, nutrition.com, or can email me at Kylie, Kylie, at kurunutrition.com. But
Mm.
info at kurunutrition.com, it all comes to me as well. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
I'll put that in the show notes. Yeah.
awesome.
And anything else as we end, or anything you wanted me to ask I didn't ask you that you want to speak about?
I just think like when people listen to like these podcasts, and it's like, oh, that was a lot of information. Where do I start? Like, I would always say the big one is start with breakfast because start in the morning. So have that good quality breakfast, change that up, and that will just set the stage for the rest of the day. So that would be my takeaway, and don't try
Mhm.
and do too much at once. It's just establishing those changes into like habits and
Mhm.
then building from there, because it is
Mm.
overwhelming. Like giving someone a meal plan, I'm not even going to follow a
Yeah,
meal plan. So why
yeah.
would someone else? Yeah, yeah.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for your expertise, for your deep passion, for love, for service, and supporting people. I've so enjoyed this
Yeah,
conversation.
I
I really
really
look
enjoyed
for,
cooking too.
I
Yeah.
really do, and I look forward to staying connected. And yeah, there's more
Maybe
conversations to be
I'll have
had.
you on my podcast.
Deal.
Tag team, you're it.
Deal. I'm in. Thank you so much again. And I want to thank all the listeners for listening and watching. If you found this useful, please feel free to share, send it to friend, family, coworker, neighbor, whoever you think can benefit from this super important topic of nutrition, mental health, well-being. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. It really helps me keep sharing this work. May your moments be filled with ease and may you be present in as many of them. Thank you. Hello there, and thank you so much for stopping by this channel. I hope you find this content useful, and if you do, feel free to hit that subscribe button. It will really help me to reach to more people and keep this content going. Here we are journeying together, and let's see where this takes us.